If you're doing a PhD or you're a business student, you absolutely know the feeling, that immense pressure to find one single, truly original idea. I mean, it's the bedrock of your entire project, but let's be honest, it can feel like you're searching for a needle in a haystack the size of a planet. Well, today, we're going to walk through a framework that completely changes the game. I mean, just look at that number for a second. Over 200 million research papers. Trying to sift through that manually isn't just a challenge. It's basically impossible. But what if we could flip that on its head? What if that massive challenge could actually become your biggest opportunity? Well, that's exactly where this new AI-driven approach comes into play. So, the very first thing we need to do, and this is absolutely crucial, is change how we think about AI. We have to stop seeing it as just a fancy search engine where you type in a question and get an answer. Instead, you need to start thinking of it as your research partner, an active collaborator you work with to explore, to analyze, and to create. Honestly, that mindset shift is everything. And what exactly are we hunting for with this new AI partner of ours? We're hunting for the research gap. This is the treasure, right? It's that unanswered question, that contradiction you find between two different studies, or that little corner of a field that nobody's really looked at closely. Finding a solid research gap is what gives your work real value and makes it truly original. Now, this right here, this is the core principle. AI is an incredible amplifier, there's no doubt about it, but it's not a magic wand. It amplifies you. It amplifies your knowledge, your curiosity, and the quality of the directions you give it. You know that old saying, garbage in, garbage out? Well, it has never been more true than right here. So what does this AI partnership actually look like day to day? Well, just think about the classic literature review. The old way is painfully slow, right? You can only read so many papers, and whether we like it or not, our own biases tend to lead us down the same old paths. But the AI-assisted way? It's lightning fast, it operates on a massive scale, and this is the really cool part. It can surface these hidden connections between different areas of research that you might never have noticed on your own. Okay, so where do we even begin? Stage one is all about mapping the known world, because before you can find that uncharted territory, you first need a really good map of what's already been discovered. We need that bird's eye view of the entire research landscape. That's our starting point. And you've got some amazing tools to help you do this. You can think of Elicit as your brilliant assistant who literally reads papers for you and pulls out the most important findings and limitations. Consensus is fantastic. It takes your questions and gives you these synthesized answers pulled from hundreds of different papers. And ResearchRabbit, that's like your visual map maker, showing you exactly how different studies connect, where the big conversations are happening, and more importantly, where they're not. And this is just a perfect example of how you guide your AI partner. Notice how specific and targeted this prompt is. It's not just, tell me about ESG. It gives it a topic, a specific context, emerging markets, and a very clear job. Break it down, and then, this is the key, suggest what seems to be missing. This is how you start pointing your flashlight into the dark corners of that map. So, we have our map. Now comes the really exciting part, finding the blank spaces on it. In stage two, we use AI to shift from just summarizing what we already know to actively hunting for what we don't know, both in the world of academia and out in the real world. Inside the academic world, AI is an absolute powerhouse for this. It can scan thousands of papers and spot two studies that completely contradict each other. It can flag research from a decade ago that might not hold up anymore. It can even notice things like, hey, everyone in this field uses surveys. Has anyone ever thought about trying a different method? It sees patterns and breaks in patterns a human researcher could easily overlook. Finding gaps in the literature is great. It's essential. But what if I told you that some of the most urgent, the most impactful, and the most novel research questions aren't hiding in academic journals at all? Okay, this is where it gets really, really cool. We can now use AI to listen to what the real world is saying and do it at scale. Imagine feeding it thousands of CEO earnings calls and asking, what are the problems these executives keep complaining about that they can't solve? Or analyzing millions of job postings to see what skills companies are desperate for. This lets you uncover urgent, practical problems that industry needs answers to right now, but academia just hasn't gotten to yet. All right, so you've mapped the world, you've found a promising blank spot on the map, could be a contradiction in the literature, could be a real-world business problem. Now what? Well, the final stage is all about taking that vague area of interest and sharpening it into a focused, clear, and defensible research question. And this little chart just lays out that journey perfectly. You don't just jump from a fuzzy idea to a perfect hypothesis. It's a process. You iterate. You start off broad, like, there's not much out there on AI in small businesses. Then, with your AI partner, you start to refine it at each step. What kind of small business? What's the main challenge? You keep narrowing it down until you land on a specific, testable hypothesis. This is how you get from simple curiosity to actual science. But before you commit the next few months or even years of your life, there is one last check. Because not all gaps are worth filling. You can use your AI partner to really stress test your idea. Is it actually significant? Is it even feasible to study with the resources you have? You can even ask it to scan the latest research papers and grant proposals to see if someone else is already working on it. Think of it as your final quality control step. So look, if you take just one thing away from our conversation today, let it be this. The game has truly changed. The most successful researchers from here on out will be the ones who learn how to collaborate with these incredible tools, to guide them, to challenge them, and to work side by side with them to discover what we don't yet know. And that kind of leaves us with a fascinating final thought to chew on. As AI gets better and better at mapping what's already known, and even at pointing out the most promising questions to ask, what does that mean for the role of the human researcher? Maybe, just maybe, our most important job is no longer just finding the answers, but having the creativity, the insight, and the wisdom to ask the right questions in the first place.